This is Dan of 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝐿, and if you're deciding to retire overseas, should you still enroll in U.S. Medicare insurance when you're eligible at age 65? In this video, I've invited an expert in U.S. Medicare choices to help us sift through these choices that all Americans overseas retirees must make. Today, we've invited Dr. Ed Weir, PhD, former Social Security manager, who shares everything about U.S. Medicare on his channel at @MyGovExpert. Dr. Ed, welcome to the channel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm not in a beautiful place like you, but I'll do the best as I can. I think I have one fake plant here, so we'll see if I can beat the competition here.
Well, Ed, welcome to 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝐿. We are delighted to have you here to help inform my audience about Medicare. Ed, first tell us a little bit about your former life at Social Security so my audience understands why I've asked you to be a guest on this important subject.
Sure. Yeah, I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. That's in Vegas there. There's a few retirees in Vegas, so you know that's why it's the third busiest. So I ran that. I retired early. Before that, I know a lot of expats over there were prior military. I'm an old Marine Corps sergeant myself there, so I spent a lot of time overseas myself. So I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to reach out to people that are overseas. And they do have a lot of questions about Medicare. I do a live Q&A pretty much every day, and invariably someone comes in and says, okay, what should I do about Medicare? So I'm happy to talk about it.
Perfect. And thank you for your service, Dr. Ed. Ed, I recently turned 65, so time is running out for me. I need to decide whether to enroll in U.S. Medicare or not. Can you tell us the time frame for enrolling in Medicare as our 61st birthday approaches?
Exactly. Okay, so there's a couple of situations. If you're currently receiving Social Security benefits, they're going to sign you up automatically. About 100 days before you turn 65, they will send you your entire packet in the mail. So if you're living overseas, if you've got, someone that's your sister or brother taking care of that, or if you've got, one of those virtual post offices, you have to keep an eye on that. And you'll receive your packet in the mail, and they will sign you up automatically for Part A and Part B. That's if you're currently receiving Social Security benefits. Doesn't matter whether it's retirement benefits or survivor benefits or spouse benefits. If you're not currently receiving Social Security benefits, then they won't do anything. And you have to make the decision whether you want to go ahead and sign up for Part A or Part B, or Part A and Part B. If you don't at 65 and you don't have creditable coverage, then you will be penalized for the rest of your life. So if you say, well, I'm 65 and I'm living over in Kuala Lumpur or, Panama or whatever the place may be, and so I don't need it, I'm not sick anyway. And then a year, 2 years, 3 years later, what I see quite often with expats is they say, well, I don't need it. I've never come back to the United States. I'm sure you know the deal that a lot of people travel overseas and they spend a few weeks there, which is a completely different beast than actually living in the particular country. So after about a year, they get sick or homesick, or the political situation changes in their particular country, and they have to go back to the United States. And once they go back, if they didn't have health insurance, if they didn't sign up for Medicare when they were supposed to, they're going to be penalized 10% for every 12 months they did not have Medicare. And that's for the rest of your life. So 10% of the monthly premium, which this year is $185 a month. And there's a penalty for Part D, the prescription drug plan, which is 1% per month. So you got a lot of penalties there. And unfortunately, what happens, I see happen all the time, is people get sick overseas and then they come back to the United States in April, May, June, July, or something like that, and they've got nothing because they're outside of their initial enrollment period and they can't sign up until January, February, March. So if you sign up in January, your Part A, Part B will start in February 1st, but again, you're going to be paying the penalties for the rest of your life. So I would recommend, if you know 100% for sure you're never coming back to the United States, then that's one thing. But if there's ever an outside possibility, you might just want to, check it out. And there's some countries it is considered creditable coverage. I've spent a lot of time in Japan, and the Japanese national health insurance is considered creditable coverage. But a lot of other countries aren't. So you would have to have coverage back in the United States.
Wow, that's brilliant. Great. Thank you so much. That's very important information for people. And so I have been reading online, and it seems like there's a lot of negativity about Medicare Advantage plans these days. People are saying they're being nickel and dime to death on their Medicare Advantage plans because they have to pay co-pays and can only go to certain approved doctors within managed care systems. Do you generally recommend Medicare supplement plans to avoid these surprises for people who generally live year-round in the USA?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always recommend checking out both options. So anytime you call someone that, that helps with Medicare plans, they are required to go over both options, either a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, and tell you the details, and then you make your decision. I always recommend try your best to get a Medicare supplement plan. I recommend a Plan N because I'm cheap like that and the monthly premiums are cheaper, or a Plan G is fine. Either one of those is fine. If you can't afford the monthly premium, because there is a monthly premium on that, a Plan N generally across the country, you're looking at about $80 a month. Plan G, about 20% more than that. And then you also need to get a standalone Part D plan. With a Medicare Advantage plan, most of those are zero premium. And it's actually illegal for Medicare insurance agents to say, hey, it's zero premium. That means free. And the reason it's not free, and they're not allowed to say that, is because exactly what you just said. They charge for everything else. You go to a specialist, it might be $35. You go to the hospital, it might be $100 a night or $500 a night. And then there's prior authorizations, and then there's networks. And yeah, if you're able to afford a Medicare supplement plan, please get a Medicare supplement plan. If you can't afford it, then a Medicare Advantage plan is, it's better than having nothing alone. Because if you just have Part A and Part B, unless you got a few $1,000,000 hidden in your hammock back there, then you're going to have a lot of gaps. The big one is Part B. There's a 20% co-insurance. So that means if you go to the doctor and get a $100,000 Band-Aid, you have to pay $20,000 for that Band-Aid, 20%. So unless you got a lot of money, you need to get either a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan.
Great. So Ed, so there's three kinds of people that generally live part of the year or all the entire year overseas, and I want to ask you about that. My category, Ed, every other year, I usually spend like less than a month, usually a week or two, visiting family and friends in the U.S. every other year. So there's a good chance that if some medical issue arises in my life, I'll be living outside the U.S. when that happens. So I'm presently carrying an international insurance policy because I move around the world a lot that will cover me anywhere outside the U.S., but not in the U.S. And I routinely have my checkups wherever I am in the world overseas once per year. But if I were diagnosed with something dangerous and I decided to fly home to the U.S. to get treated, what would be the lowest cost Medicare I could buy that would keep that door open for that situations? One of my listeners on my channel suggested I buy a rebate Medicare Advantage plan for Part A and B that offers rebates of Part B monthly premium so that my monthly cost would be the lowest, but I would still have coverage in the U.S. if I decide to fly home for such a case. Does that make sense to you, or are there other ideas you have about it?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's what a lot of people do, if they can't afford the Medicare supplement plan, the monthly premium, and they want to save as much money as possible, they get the Medicare Advantage zero premium. But it's called a Part B give back plan. There's a lot of changes for 2026, so it depends on what's available because you have to sign up for a particular plan that's available in wherever you're located back in the United States. So what these are, they're as the name applies, it's a Part B give back. So you sign up for the Medicare Advantage plan and it's zero premium per month. And then if there's one of these available, it pays for part of your Part B. So your Part B is $185. We don't know what it's going to be for 2026 yet. It should come out in about a week or so. But it pays for that Part B, either $50, $100, $185. But the problem with those is those are good if you're young and healthy, 65, 66, 67, or whatever young, um, is these are health insurance companies. I hate to break the news to you, but they're in it for a profit. So if you have a Medicare Advantage regular plan and then one that pays for your Part B, those health insurance companies are going to get that money back. So this one over here, $100 a night for a hospital. This one, $400 a night for a hospital. This one, zero for a specialist. This one, $50. So they're going to get their money back if you use it. If you don't use it, I get a lot of people that they go ahead and sign up for the Part B give back when they're 65, 66, 67, and then they say, okay, well, yeah, I'm getting older. I'm probably going to need to do this, that, and the other. So they switch. The time you can switch is October 15th to December 7th. So that's what a lot of people do is they're switching like from one of those Part B give backs that doesn't have a lot of good coverage underneath. And they say, well, should I roll the dice for another year and get that, $50, $100? Or is it time for me to get a little bit more coverage and then switch to a regular plan? So you just have to throw that dice.
Wow, that's just a brilliant answer. Very helpful, and your expertise is just amazing. So other retirees routinely fly home for a month or two every other year to spend with family and friends, a month or two every other year. And they routinely schedule their appointments with their U.S. doctor before they fly home, and they get all their medical checkups, advice from their U.S. doctors during their annual visits to the U.S., and they plan on getting any major medical problems that arise while they are in the U.S. Some of them also have a local country plan where they live overseas in case of emergency, and others do not carry any health insurance when they're overseas. What type of U.S. Medicare plan would you recommend for someone like that who's regularly expects to use Medicare for their health care when they're visiting family and friends for a few months every other year or so?
Yeah, every other year. Again, if you've got the money, then a Medicare supplement plan, and that way you can go to any. There's no limitations on what doctor you can choose, what hospital, or anything like that. If the doctor, hospital, clinic takes Medicare, there are no networks, there are no prior authorizations. If your doctor says you need X, Y, or Z, then that's it, done, end of story. With the Medicare Advantage, you have the limited networks, and those are changing all the time. And then the insurance company can get in between your doctor and you and second guess. So if you're able to afford it, and the people say, oh, it sounds like I've heard that before, and other people, and that's because these companies and these people that sell these plans want more money. They want you to pay a monthly premium. No, everybody makes more. The insurance company, the people that sign you up, they make more money signing you up for the zero premium Medicare Advantage plan. Everybody makes less money with the one that costs you, $80, $100 a month. It's the American healthcare system is completely counterintuitive and 100% illogical from day one. But if you're able to do it, then go for it. Medicare Advantage, you just have to make sure that every year your plan covers your particular doctor, your particular specialist that you want to see, your hospital that you want to go to. And if you have prescriptions, you have to make sure it covers your prescriptions and you're saving as much money for those prescriptions. Next year in 2026, a lot of these health insurance companies are going for, to maximize profit. They're just like any company. They're either in the kind of the expansion phase where they want to, sell as much or, enroll as many clients as possible, or they're in the, okay, let's kind of stay where we're at and see how much money we can make off each person, maximize the margins. Next year, they're in the maximize the margin phase. So a lot of people are checking their plans for 2026 and seeing that, these companies are cutting back, charging you more for hospital, more for specialists, more for prescriptions and stuff like that. So as long as you keep up on a Medicare Advantage every year, then you should be good. So if you need someone, I've got people on my website that you can reach out to, and they'll help you out. But yeah, it takes a little bit more effort to do the Medicare Advantage versus a Medicare supplement plan.
That's great. And also, thanks for mentioning that you can do that transfer October, December window in case you realize your costs are going to go up for whatever reason. It's great to know you can switch from Advantage over to supplement, or I think that's what you said.
Yeah, and switching, to get to a Medicare Advantage plan, you can do that. You have a lot of opportunity to switch to a Medicare Advantage plan. To a Medicare supplement, once you pick a Medicare Advantage plan at 65 or whenever, depending on the state you live in, your home address, it's more difficult to switch to a Medicare supplement plan because there's underwriting. So if you have been receiving a Medicare Advantage plan for 2 or 3 or 4 years, and then you say, you know what, I'm tired of the networks and the prior authorizations, I'm going to switch to a Medicare supplement plan. If you're healthy, should have no issues whatsoever. If you're not, then they can deny you because you have to go through health underwriting. They ask you about 30, 35 questions, and if you say yes, or there's some that you can say yes, and like if you have diabetes, but if it's under control, then you should be good. But if you have to take a lot of insulin, the company can deny you and say, yeah, we're not going to give you a Medicare supplement plan. You're stuck in a Medicare Advantage plan for the rest of your life. So it's important to make the right decision from the beginning.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. That's very important. So another kind of listener of my snowbirds, they'll spend maybe half the year in the U.S., half the year wherever their favorite spot or spots are outside the U.S. What sort of Medicare comes to mind for you when you hear that?
Yeah, probably again a lot of expats because they think they're never coming back, and they don't want to pay the monthly Medicare supplement plan, so they get the Medicare Advantage plan. Technically, you have to be coming back regularly. You have to actually live in that area. So if you're kind of a permanent expat, then there might be issues. But if you have a residence, and wherever you have that residence, because the Medicare Advantage plans are based on essentially your zip code. So they're all different. So there's thousands of Medicare Advantage plans throughout the country, and it all depends on exactly where you live. It's based on zip codes. So whatever's available in your area, you go ahead and sign up for. Starting October 15th to December 7th, you can review it for the following year to see if it's still the best plan. If you don't, then they just automatically re-enroll you in that same plan. But same plan, scare quotes there, because it might be the same name and the same company, but all of the details, like this year you were charged $100 for a hospital, and next year they jumped it up to $400. You were paying $0 for specialists this year. Next year, it's $50. So they have your Medicare Advantage plans. They're only good for 1 year. So they all expire December 31st at the end of the year. And if you don't do anything, they re-renew, but the company has the right to change pretty much anything they want with those plans within federal regulations.
And if I start Medicare now, but later decide that I actually am going to stay overseas and I like my coverage and I like the future of my coverage, can I decide to drop it later and the Social Security will quit deducting it from my monthly check?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you decide that you're never coming back and you're tired of that $185 or whatever it's going to be for next year being withheld every month, then you contact Social Security and you fill out this form, and then that's it. And then your Medicare supplement, you lose that. You lose your Medicare Advantage, you lose your Part D plan, and then you lose your Part B. But remember, if you change your mind later, then you can't sign up until January, February, March, and then you'll pay the penalties for however much time you didn't have that coverage.
Ed, tell us the name of your channel and what you talk about on there. Obviously Medicare, but I listen to you from time to time, and I especially love the videos when you share something important about Medicare, then you take questions from your listeners. What days of the weeks or times do you post your videos on your channel, and what's the name of it?
Yeah, I do. It's mygov.expert.com. MyGovExpert, you just type in Dr. Ed Weir, and today I talk about the 5 top myths about Social Security and Medicare. So I talk about retirement benefits, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, Medicare, Medicaid. So I pick a topic of the day and I talk about that for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then I do a live Q&A and I answer questions for the other 45 minutes or so. And I do that 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time every single day. Although my wife says I have to unplug for 3 days here. So I'll be back again tomorrow, but for 3 days I'll be out, but I do it 99% of the time. I do it every single day. 7 days a week, 3 o'clock West Coast time. And then I've got a website, mygovexpert.com, that I've got a bunch of information. I've got a separate section on living overseas because I get a lot of expats that come in, and we talk about the fact that you can live anywhere in the world as long as it's not North Korea or Cuba. So if you're wanting to enjoy the beautiful beaches of North Korea, then yeah, you can't get your Social Security benefit in those particular countries, but anywhere else you can get it, even if it's SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, SSI, Supplemental Security Income. That's an entirely different program. But if you're receiving disability, you can live anywhere in the world. Except for those 2 countries, if you're receiving survivor benefits, yeah, you just have to make sure Social Security has your address. In Social Security, they have 2 addresses. They have your residence address and they have your mailing address. So you can have your residence address where your parents or your siblings or whatever, a virtual post office, and then your residence, you can make it overseas if you so wish.
And thanks so much for coming on the channel. Again, I'm going to invite you back. People leave questions in the, if you're not going to go to Ed's channels now, hunt around, or even if you do, leave some questions in the comments, and I'll invite Ed back and to answer more of your questions. Thanks so much, Ed, for coming on.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And next time I'll be next to you at the beach, hopefully.
All right.
Things are changing rapidly overseas for retirees. Scan my QR code over here. You'll get on my emails. You'll find about sales, changes, and things going on. I'll try to make it worth your time.